Okay, that sounds promising. Ping, ping. So I will be back very, very shortly. I hope that's streaming now on live on YouTube. I could do with someone out there telling me, but let me just have a little look, Ray. It says live on custom live streaming service, so we'll take it as what it says up there. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Graham Hooper from Tri Coaching Partnership. This is Ray Seagrave from Complete Driving Instructor Training. Ray, let's kick off this interview. Tell me about yourself.
Well, I've been an ADI now for about 10 or 11 years. So I qualified with the old Part 3 system.
Okay.
And the industry's seen a lot of changes since then, which have been fantastic. We'll probably talk about some of them. But so I qualified about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And I came out of industry. I was looking for something a bit more challenging, something that would suit me and my situation at that time. So there was a lot of flexibility about being a driving instructor, interested in that, so qualified. And then since then, I've gone on to be a trainer. And I was I went on the audit register about 3 years ago. So a similar sort of thing happened there. I actually qualified on audit through the old audit system initially, and then more recently did the new audit assessment, which I found.
Let me just pause you there, because I want to ask you your last audit assessment, Ray. I think you did rubbish, didn't you? What did you score? Some rubbish score. What did you get, mate?
Well, I was lucky enough, I suppose, hard work. I did a lot of hard work and with my own personal development. But yeah, I got a 51 out of 51, which I was really pleased about. In fact, it's probably one of the most proudest achievements of my my whole career, really. Yeah, really pleased about it. Yeah.
51 out of 51 on an audit. Fantastic. Yeah, dearie me. What a great achievement. What did you used to do? What industry were you in before you come into this thing?
Well, going right back in the early 80s, I was part of an organisation that supplied big band tour shirts. So we were supplying the likes of U2 and the Smiths and some of the 80s bands. We were supplying all their promotional clothing. So I did that for a number of years.
Did you get to go?
Pardon?
Did you get to go?
Yeah. We got complimentary tickets, and so I was in the promotional clothing industry, and yeah, it was in those times when everything's fast moving, fast paced, and there was a boom time in the 80s, and you had to be there or you lost out. It was very intense, very energetic. Of course, I was a lot younger then, but you could keep up, party hard, work hard, play hard. Yeah, so then moving on from that, I was in the so I was in the promotional clothing industry for quite some time, about 15, 20 years. And then I moved into a larger organization. I became a marketing manager and for a company that did boiler spares and heating and so we had a network of distributors, and I was the own brand marketing manager there. So that was the last proper job, if you like.
Yeah, because now you've got a career. It's not a proper job anymore.
Yeah. Gone to 9 till 5. That's sort of gone, and but a lot more excitement's come with it.
Okay, tell me a bit about yourself outside work.
Outside work. Well, I've always believed in having outside interests other than work, because I think it just keeps you balanced. And so I've always done something. I've done a bit of mountain biking, and more recently, well, about 4 years ago, I got into ballroom dancing, and
Strictly Come Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's you can people have seen me do cha-cha-cha and waltz and quick step and tango. So I really enjoyed that. But I tend to put 110% into everything I do. So, you know, I work quite hard at it, and I was lucky enough to actually become open champion in a particular age category. So that's after dancing for about 4 years. So that was quite a proud achievement for me. I really enjoyed that.
Well done. Yeah, great. Brilliant.
Right.
Do you have any other interest? Oh, look. Hey, look at this, eh? Wow, right. Top man. I like dancing, but only dad dancing. I do dad dancing. Yeah. And usually drunk dad dancing, which is, you know, but the whole purpose of that is just to embarrass your children. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's the whole purpose of being a dad.
Yeah. Tell me, because I know you have 2 sons. Can you suitably embarrass them?
Oh, quite regularly. It's quite easy. You know, as they get older, it comes even easier. But yeah, I've got 2 boys, and I suppose my philosophy in life is sort of I've passed that on either subconsciously or consciously. And I've always said to my boys, you know, be the best you can be creative, think outside the box, you know, and work on goals and have some things to aim for and achieve. And yeah, they make me proud every day. I mean, my son, my eldest son, he got into music quite at an early stage. At the age of about 16, had his first album on iTunes at that age, which is virtually unheard of at that point. And he's now a dance music producer, and he's played music all over the world. He's been to Argentina. He's played there, so he's followed his dreams. And my youngest son now, he's in Leicester University, and right from an early age, when I first bought him his first telescope, and we had those couple of hours outside looking for, you know, some of the stars and where they were. I didn't realize at the time I created a spark within him, and that sort of kept with him. And now he's had an interest, and he's doing physics and astrophysics and mathematics at Leicester University at the minute, and he wants to go into the space industry. So
where does he get his brains from?
I've no idea. Perhaps I know where he gets his motivation and his drive from. And I think if you want to achieve anything in life, if you've got those things, then you're more likely to be successful. You learn a lot.
Absolutely right. If you looked at it like yourself now, where would you like to be in 5 years from now?
Yeah, well, it's a hard question, particularly in times like today, you know, when things are fast moving, changing every single day, sometimes hour to hour. And sometimes it feels hard to keep up. But when I look back the last 5 years and see where I've come from, if I have that sort of progression in my career and enjoyment with what I've done in the next 5 years, then I think I'll be happy. You know, I think if you've got an outlook on life where you're always trying to improve and develop yourself, you're going to have some fun, you know, wherever that comes from.
So, well, I suppose with that development, that leads me to the next question, really. What attracted you to Try Coaching Partnership?
Well, I did my research. To be fair, I was at a point when I felt there was something missing. Like I said to you earlier, I qualified in the old Part 3, and I went out into the industry thinking this is how we should do it. And there's always felt there was something missing. You know, I never felt that it was very customer focused. I came from a background where I was very customer focused, and interested in the client and interested in you know, what they wanted to achieve and what their goals were and how could I help them do that. And I always felt that when I went through my training, that it was very very strict, very regimented, and really followed a program that quite quickly fell down for me when I started to try and use that program. So I always felt there's something missing. So, and luckily for me, I sort of came into it at the right time, because there was the Hermes report that came out, and the DVSA or the DSA at the time started to look further out to see how they could improve what they were doing and really get into behaviors. And in a previous life, I've also had qualifications in life coaching. So coaching was a big thing for me, always has been in my managerial career, and latterly what I'm doing now. So So I was looking around to see, was there any training courses that I could get involved in that would better give me more skills and develop me in certain areas. And then that's when I started to see bits and elements come out in coaching. And then that's when I discovered you guys, Try Coaching.
Okay.
And from what I'd seen, you were the ones that were driving forward those elements of what the DSA at that time wanted to put in, and we're up there. And the thing that attracted me was the qualification initially, you know,
Yes.
and that it was something that I could put on my CV and work towards. But what I didn't realize was really how much of a change that it would have in me. And that journey of growth and development that it took me through really helped me develop my skills, certainly my coaching skills, but also helped me understand how those skills could be put into the training context, which really lit my fire, because I wanted the best for my pupils at the time. You know, I wanted them to be the best they could be, because that was my philosophy in life. You know, if I could help facilitate that, then fantastic. And it's how I could develop myself to do that. So at the time, that's how I found you guys. I spoke to you at the time, Graham. I always remember that conversation, and we had a synergy there in terms of what we were trying to achieve. I remember you talking about road safety and the passion that you've got around that, and which had a similar sort of, you know, wanting the best for others. So that was a bigger, you know, that was a big thing for me, because I'm a people person, you know, and if you tend to align yourself with people that are like-minded and similar thinking. So that's the reason why I joined Try Coaching, because of their forward thinking. They're ahead of the game, way ahead of the game at the time. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So, Ray, you sort of answered quite like my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because you might want to add a little bit to it. How would you describe your training style?
Well, that came out of my management style way back when, and I suppose that nature within me as you know, as part of what I was about, was how can I get the best for someone else? You know, I was into personal development for me personally, but also back then my staff, and how could I personally develop them, and what did they want to achieve? So that itself, that coaching style, that came out, and it meant that when I approach training now, it is all about, you know, how can I help this person achieve, develop, improve, grow, learn something new, and when you see the result of that, and the personal changes that this person goes through, and the development that they go through, and the journey that they go through, and then when you see the success at the end, well, you know, as a teacher, it's why we do it, I think, you know, to see that success.
That's fantastic, because I'm going to ask you to give me 5 words that describe your character. Well, they don't have to be 5 words, but 5 things that describe your character. They don't have to be just, you know, one word.
Well, I'm going to be honest here, Graham, I cheated a little bit here with this one. And I asked my family, I said, look, if someone was going to ask you this question about me, what would you say? And when I looked down the list, I thought, yeah, they know me well, don't they? So I pretty much agreed with what they came up with, which I suppose, you know, if you come from our industry and you're involved in our industry, you're going to have a lot of these things like passionate. You know, I'm very passionate about the industry and what we're trying to achieve, and how I go about doing that. I'm very passionate about others, and you can probably tell I'm very motivated, very driven. And some people have said of me that I'm very inspirational, and I think if I can get a message across and it helps them, then fantastic. I'm very achievement focused, so I'm always looking for the goal. You know, what is the goal? What is it I want to achieve, and how I'm going to get there? We all have dreams, you know, we all have dreams, but dreams can only turn into something if we've got an end goal. And then once we've got an end goal, well, then how do we achieve that? You know, what are the things we have to do to achieve the end goal? So I've always been very sort of goal focused. So strong-minded, motivated, passionate, committed, and achievement focused. There's your 5.
Yeah, well, I'm committed. I should be committed. I think that's probably the other thing. Okay, so I asked these questions quite. So you cheated about listing your 5 words that describe you.
I was creative, Graham.
Creative, yeah. There's nothing wrong with cheating. I went through school cheating, and you know, I made sure. Well, actually, I didn't learn that the geezer I sat next to was thick until it was too late. But hey, I used to copy his work and then couldn't work out why I was bottom of the class. So I had to move desks. Found an intelligent person. I went up the level of the class. So, what 3 character traits would your friends use to describe you? Not your family, your friends. And I think you've touched on some of them.
Well, yeah, there's an element of fun, you know, in work hard, play hard. So whenever you're out with your friends, you're having a fun time. So yeah, I think they would have a bit of a fun person to be around. You know, we're always laughing and joking. I've got friends that live in Liverpool, and they're some of the funniest people you'll ever come across. They'll have a little story and spin it out into a yarn that's 15 minutes, and every one of those minutes your jaw's aching from laughing. So yeah, I suppose fun, sense of humour. Or someone that takes others' feelings into account. Okay. I think if you're a coach, you do that. You know, you're very, well, we call it EQ, don't we, Graham? You know, we're very sensitive to the emotions and thoughts and feelings of others. So when we're having conversations, I'm always quite keen to hear someone else's perspective, someone else's point of view. What's their worldview? What do they think? What's their opinion? Where does that come from? So, you know, interested in people. Someone called me a nice mentor once, which was nice.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Right, along the same sort of lines, really. I mean, you know, I want to know a bit more about you. What are you most proud of?
Well, other than, you know, becoming a dad, which is fantastic. I suppose in my career, being recognised is nice. Although that's not what you do it for, but I was the winner of Driving Instructor of the Year in 2014. That was a Fresh Start Awards, if some of you remember that.
Okay, I remember that.
And then latterly, last year, 2019, I was voted Intelligent Instructors Regional Driving Instructor of the Year. So it's any recognition is nice when you you know, when you put hard work and effort in to develop yourself. So I was very proud of that. On a personal note, last Christmas I had a really proud moment with my father. For years and years we were trying to track down my grandfather's war medals. He was in the RAF.
Okay.
And his war record was not found. I managed to track his war record down, and his 2 campaign medals, which we'd never seen. So I managed to get copies of those, and then I presented those to my father.
Oh, nice one.
And that was a fantastic, proud moment for me. I really enjoyed that. Okay. And then I suppose, you know, the achievements of my 2 sons. You know, every day they make you proud, and those things stay with you.
No, absolutely. Okay, so along the same lines, but slightly, I suppose, because what's your greatest achievement outside of work? And I think you've already told me this, so you can just go quite quickly with this. But I want you to say it again, because it's nice to shout about our achievements and that we're doing something. So what's your biggest achievement outside of work?
That would be the ballroom. Yeah, that would be the ballroom champion. So that was. Do you know what? One of the things that when I started to dance really took me back to when I started to learn to drive, and how difficult learning a new skill is, particularly a practical skill. So every time I have to take a different step than the one before because I'm learning a new routine, it takes me right back down to the ground. You know, how when you're training, helping someone to develop and train, how they must think, how they must feel. So yeah, that was a proud moment for me, going through all that pain to then be recognised as what I was doing was all right. I managed to sort my 2 left feet out.
Okay, brilliant. Well done, Ray. I mean, you know, great achievements. It's nice, isn't it? I mean, you know, we get rewards in lots of different ways, but it's nice when somebody else recognises that you've worked hard to achieve something in your life, and someone says, "Look, this is the recognition." You know,
Yeah.
it might only be a bit of paper, but it gives. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
So, was there a person in your life that made a difference to you?
Other than my parents that make a difference to everything,
Yeah.
you know, and the life lessons that they teach, I always tend to consider one particular person who I was at a crossroads in my life. This is going back to school. And although she might not be around now to hear this, but Mrs. Pearson, who was my art teacher at the time, she said to me, we were in an art class one day, and she said to me, so, you know, I think I was 15 or just about to, I was doing my exams and I was just about to leave. She said, what are your plans after school? And at that time, I had no idea, you know, I didn't. And she suggested, well, why didn't you try that? You're a creative person.
Yeah.
You are good at what you do. Why don't you try doing this? And that, I hadn't considered what she suggested, which was actually to go into the printing industry. It's what I did when I first left school. And that took me down a particular path that if I hadn't had that conversation with her, I don't know where I might have been. So, but I think when you look back at your teachers, they can provide you with some fantastic inspirational moments, and that's a continual reminder to me as a teacher that everything that we do, whether we realize it or not, has impact, and we've got a responsibility. And so if you, and that can be a burden, but it's also, you know, something nice, something fantastic that as a teacher you can influence and impact on someone's life that way.
So I want to follow on for that, because that was about people. What inspires you? I mean, obviously people inspire you, but what else inspires you?
Well, yeah, people inspire me. Some fantastic inspirational speakers, and some, you know, I come across some things on YouTube. If you can, check out this guy. His name's Rick Rigsby. Okay.
Rick Rigsby.
And you want to look for a video called the most inspiring speech, and it's called The Wisdom of a Third Grade Dropout. Have a look at it. That inspired me.
Okay. All right.
So have a look at that. I promise you, you know, if it doesn't affect you hard. Yeah, people inspire me. The hardships that they go through, and then they come out at the other end, and the hard work and effort that they put in. That's inspiring. Other things that inspire me, I like to watch movies. So, you know, films with an inspirational message. Saving Private Ryan is one of my favorite films.
Okay.
But it takes you back to the Normandy landings and the effort, and you know, the loss that we had there, and if that hadn't happened, then, you know, we wouldn't be experiencing some of the things and our freedoms that we've got now. So, you know, films with inspirational messages, that's one of my favorite. And of course, Forrest Gump, because you know that life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like all chocolate. I don't like chocolate that much. Actually, following on from that, Saving Private Ryan, because I want to ask the question then: who are your heroes?
A great time to think about this for me is November the 11th, because having a family that have been in the military, you know, my grandfather mentioned he was in the RAF. I've had family that were in the Falklands conflict, and on board the Conqueror, which was the submarine that, if you remember, torpedoed the Belgrano. So I think my heroes are the ones, and particularly in these times when you see the efforts of others that are selfless. You know, you see our armed forces, you see our police force, you see the NHS. They're the people that are running towards danger when others are running away. They're the real heroes, you know, and I think anything that we can do to help and support them, particularly at this time, is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo those thoughts, and I'd probably be the one running in the opposite direction, right? You know. I can't ever see me being a hero. If someone was, if there's danger, mate, I'm off. I'm on my toes. So I suppose, look, I can see in the background, I mean, I've got my tri-coaching badge behind me, but it says ticket and it says tri-coaching instructor training. You touched on earlier about your training to become an ADI. How does ticket differ from that conventional training that you got when you were going to be an ADI, becoming an ADI?
Well, it's like chalk and cheese, really. When I went through my training, it was very what they call PST based,
yeah,
which was scenarios, and you did this, you did that, which felt very restrictive and really didn't take account of the learner.
yeah.
When the ticket product was launched, it was like a revelation. It was a holistic approach. It was the whole thing. There's a lot of learning that takes place right from day one. So right from the start, from day one, you learn how to learn. You learn about yourself, but then you also learn how others learn. So you learn about yourself, you learn about how others learn, and then from the very first session in the car, you learn how to practice teaching what you've learned. And that starts from day one, which was completely different. So from taking a part 1 theory test and a part 2, you've got to get your driving right. Oh, and then you can go on and teach. But this holistic approach, right from the very start, understands where the theory impacts on the practical nature of what you should do, and then how you should teach that, and how you should help the pupil actually discover that, what are the solutions around what they want to achieve around those goals. And that starts from day one. So how it reflects, how ticket connects to the standards check, but also back through to the national driver and rider standards, which is really where it all should start. Every PDI and every ADI should know about the national standard, should know how the standards check reflects what's in there, and also then how the training and how it's delivered should meet those standards. And if it's going to do that, you haven't got to worry about a standards check or a part 3.
You're absolutely right. If you train someone to become a driving instructor, it's just the same as if you teach someone to drive and they take the driving test, they should pass because they can drive.
Yeah.
If you teach someone to become a driving instructor and they take the standards check, they should pass because they're a driving instructor.
Yeah.
It's when we get, I suppose, the old-fashioned way, and what you were saying really is, and I'll sum this up, sort of test-focused training for me doesn't work. Yeah. So this is not test-focused. This helps you become a driving instructor. Okay, I want to go a little bit off track actually now, and I want to talk about if I ask you this question, so if there's no right or wrong answer here, but if you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be? Anywhere.
It wouldn't be somewhere cold. Me and cold don't get on. So if it's not somewhere cold, it's going to be somewhere warm and hot. And one of the places I've never been, I'd like to be, is one of those beaches, where there are golden sands and there's palm trees in the background, there's coconuts falling, and the sea is crystal clear. That's where I'd like to be right now. In lockdown, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, right. Just for you. We can go there now. Yeah. So just for you, look, I can just do that. I
love it.
I can make dreams come true. Yeah. God. Yeah. Okay. So next question. How do you think I rate as an interviewer? I've had some interesting answers to this. So
yeah, very good, Graham. Are we doing scaling here? Are we?
No, we're not doing scaling. No. You're not asking me. I just want your opinion. I don't.
Yeah, very good. To the point, concise, and happy to keep it moving along. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right,
I'd have to do a bit of training, to be honest, if I had to do it.
Right. God. All right. We'll move on now because okay. Ray, what was the last book you read?
Do you know what? When I started to learn about learning styles, I thought that's why, because I'm not a reader. I've never been a reader. I'm a very visual person, so I prefer things I can pictures or anything like that. That comes from my artistic background as well. But I did read one book, I'm talking about from cover to cover.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And that was about some guys from some survivors of World War One, and it was their stories, their personal individual stories. And Harry Patch was a famous British World War One veteran, and his story was just moving in so many ways. So that kept me going through the book. But it wasn't a very thick book; it's only about that thick. But I do delve into books, obviously. I do read,
Yeah.
but I've never.
I can read.
Yeah, I can read. Yeah, but I get all my entertainment from something moving and visual rather than something on a written page. Yeah.
So then, based on that, then my next question is, what's the best movie or box set you've seen this year?
Oh, this year,
this
I
year.
would say. I've got one for last year. I like three billboards over Madison County, I think it was.
I've seen that. I sat in a park in Wimbledon and watched that.
Yeah, I
outdoor
really
cinema. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I really enjoyed that. I think that was a couple of years ago, though. This year, I went to see. December counts as 12 months, doesn't it? The latest Star Wars movie, because it was the last in the trilogy. Now, I remember as a young lad in 1977. Going to see the very first one, and I queued up round the ABC cinema in Nottingham. We queued up for about 3 hours to get in, and then the impact of that technology at that time that just hooked me then. So from that point, I had to go to the cinema to see everyone. So that was probably the last one. Of course, I went to see it with my son as well, which was great fun.
Yeah, I remember going to see it, the Odeon Leicester Square, and when the Battlestar Galactica, no, it wasn't that one, but one of them battleships come over the top, and I remember that. And now when you watch it, you go, "What's rubbish?" Yeah. I thought it was fantastic back then. He had seats around and all of, and then I look at it now and I go, "Oh, not CGI, is it?"
No, it didn't exist back then.
No.
Showing our age now, Graham.
Okay. Okay, Ray, if you won the lottery, what would you do?
Well, going back to that ballroom dancing thing, that got me started because I did something for charity, and it was for it was to learn two dancers, never danced before, learn two dancers, and raise a certain amount of money for a place called Zoe's Place. Now, Zoe's Place are a baby hospice, and they do palliative care, so end of life care for kiddies. That's always been something quite close to me in supporting them. So I think if I won the lottery, I'd buy them a new wing and fill it full of nurses.
Nice one, Ray.
That'd be on my list.
Fantastic. And I thought you were going to join me on the beach, but hey, no, brilliant.
Well, I could do that as well.
Okay. Good. I'm glad he's normal. Yeah. What is your favourite memory?
Oh, my favourite memory, being down on the south coast, because I used to live only for a short time, a place called Selsey Bill.
I know.
And near Chichester, between Bognor and Portsmouth. And one of my favourite memories was spending summer seasons down there, because I used to work behind the bar in a place called Pontins.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Which is now gone. And I had some fantastic times as I was going through university, and partying all night, waiting for the sun to get up, and then and going to sleep on the beach the next day. So that's probably one of my favourite memories.
Okay, cool. So, apart from being a party animal, if you were an animal, which one would you want to be?
An animal? Which animal would I like to be? A cheetah.
A cheetah?
Yeah, they're fast, and then they sleep all day. So a big burst of energy, and then I'll be lying on that beach there with a few beers.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good to me. Okay, so my final question: if you could choose one superhero power, what would it be and why?
Well, I think it's got to be the one that when I think right back when I was a little lad, growing up in Nottingham, a place called Bulwell, and I was growing up, and as a lad, I used to get a comic called 2000 AD. It had Judge Dredd in it. Loved it.
Okay, yeah.
Right. And you know, when you flick to the back of these comics, there was always these like little things that would give you fantastic powers. You know, the power of invisibility and buy these goggles. And one of the things was sorry, the power of X-ray vision. You buy the goggles.
Okay,
one of the things I thought wouldn't it be great to be invisible. So I think I'd like to, on occasion, just slip into invisibility when it's suited me.
Yeah, I think I think if you have the X-ray goggles, there's a little bit of yeah. The people, I don't think people won't be happy with your X-ray goggles. They could be happy with your invisible.
Certainly not this day and age. Yeah, but it'd be nice just to slip away from things and not be disturbed.
Nice one. Okay, Ray. Well, thank you. Yeah. This is the end of the interview, and hey, you've been brilliant, just like everyone else. You're the best one I've interviewed this week.
Oh, thank you very much, Graham.
Yeah. That upset a few. Okay.